We don't need multicultural education here. Most of our students are white. I don't see color. All of my students are the same to me. Let's not focus on negative things. Can't we all just get along? I want to include multicultural education in my curriculum, but I just don't have time for it. Multicultural education is just therapy for Black kids. These are some remarks made by teacher educators when discussing the topic of multicultural education. In the following presentation, we will work through Sonia Nieto's conceptualization of multicultural education in order to understand how the aforementioned comments are based on misinformed ideas about what multicultural education is. By the end of this presentation, students will be able to define key terms of multicultural education and discuss its components. As a crucial element of school reform, multicultural education has the potential to create real change to an educational system that fails students from diverse backgrounds. As a comprehensive approach, it also offers the space to engage in rich and complex conversations about difference and the implications of those differences for educational experiences and outcomes. Additionally, multicultural education as school reform can lead to a school and community environment that promotes the educational success of all students by acknowledging and incorporating the experiences of all students as part of the community of learning. Identification of the goals of multicultural education provides a useful beginning to conceptualize multicultural education as school reform. First, social justice or multicultural educators believe that multicultural education must recognize and discuss the inequality that permeates our school system. This includes, but is not limited to, a focus on funding, teacher preparation, access to honors in AP classes, school climate, and disciplinary policies. The tackling of inequality has as its goal the educational achievement of all students through equitable and high-quality education in an effort to prepare students to participate as critical and informed thinkers and members of their community. In order to achieve these goals, we must begin with an understanding of four key terms related to multicultural education. We begin with a differentiation between equal and equitable education. Equal education refers to giving everybody the same thing. For example, giving all students a 20-minute lecture on computing fractions and requiring them to complete a homework assignment. Equitable education differs from equality in that it means giving students the resources or support they need to achieve equality. It means providing a 20-minute lecture on fractions for auditory and visual learners, providing the time for students to practice in the classroom. It means having students work collaboratively to solve problems. In other words, equitable education means that students are given the resources they need to succeed, resources based on their particular needs, which will not be the same for every student. Social justice, a philosophy or teaching approach that is embedded within the civil rights movement and seeks to dismantle discrimination, is another key term in the conceptualization of multicultural education. Components of social justice include a resistance and disruption of oppressive ideologies in practice, such as countering stereotypes. Equitable educational opportunity is a second component of social justice, meaning that all students are given the resources they need for educational attainment and equality. Social justice education also recognizes students' cultural and experiential resources, meaning that students' daily lives and cultural knowledges are incorporated into the school curriculum. Finally, social justice includes the creation of an environment for critical thinking and social change, meaning that students are prepared for civil, political, and community engagement. The third term that is helpful in the conceptualization of multicultural education is the achievement gap, which is the term used to describe the low educational achievement of students, especially those from low-income and culturally diverse backgrounds. Opponents of the term argue that the use of the term gap places fault on students alone, without taking into consideration school-related factors. As such, scholars such as Gloria Latson-Billings prefer the term educational debt as a more useful term that holds everyone accountable for the educational outcomes of students, and which moves away from a deficit perspective, the fourth term in the conceptualization of multicultural education. Deficit perspectives point to the cultural, racial, genetic, or daily lived experiences of youth as reasons for low educational outcomes, leading to bias and discriminatory teaching practices and policies. When school failure is located as a problem within students' and families' cultures, home, language, and daily experiences, school districts, policymakers, administrators, and teachers can be unwilling to take responsibility and thus are unwilling to make change at the structural or classroom level. Instead, multicultural education encourages a broad understanding of school-related and societally related factors that lead to low educational outcomes among students. Now that we have discussed key terms related to multicultural education, let us look at the 7 characteristics of multicultural education as described by Sonia Nieto. First, multicultural education is anti-racist, meaning that it actively works against racism. Scholar Kevin Kumashiro has expanded this to anti-oppressive education, meaning that multicultural education works against all types of oppression. To work against oppression means that teachers are engaging students in conversation about the various forms of discrimination, including how they manifest today. This means that teachers must be aware and knowledgeable about racism and other forms of oppression in today's society. Multicultural education, as anti-racist or anti-oppressive education, implies that we are all responsible for combating discrimination. Multicultural education is basic education, meaning that it is not added to curriculum as an extra or an aside, but that it is basic to the curriculum and school environment. For example, multicultural educators do not encourage celebrations of Black historical figures to be left for 1 month of the year, but expect that the incorporation of Black historical figures will permeate the entire yearly curriculum. Multicultural education is for everyone, not only students from diverse cultural, linguistic, or racial backgrounds. Multicultural education is about all people, and therefore it is for all people. Because it is everyone's responsibility to combat discrimination and promote equality and equity, multicultural education provides a useful teaching and learning approach for all students. Multicultural education is not just about 1 or 2 activities. Multicultural education is pervasive. It is a philosophical approach that permeates all of school life, including the social, physical, and academic environment of the school. It also permeates the curriculum, school policies, and mission statements, and relationships between teachers, students, and the community. Multicultural education is social justice education, meaning that it encourages and challenges students to combat oppressive structures and ideologies, including unequal power balance. For example, the Institute for Humane Education creates and promotes critical media literacy plans, which focus on analyzing racial and gender stereotypes in advertisement. Multicultural education for social justice actively engages in discussions of social change and encourages teachers and students to address unequal distributions of power. Multicultural education is a process, meaning that it is ongoing. It is something we strive to do, not just a goal to reach. It also means that we are always working and that we never get to a point where we know it all. Multicultural educators are always learning from students. Finally, multicultural education is critical pedagogy. It is a pedagogical or teaching approach that fosters critical thinking, reflection, and action. It is transformative and liberating, both for students and communities, meaning that it acknowledges and praises students' own experience and encourages students to seek and create knowledge. Critical pedagogy does not refer to one right answer or truth. Instead, it fosters a multiplicity of voices and perspectives. Multicultural education, as a holistic school reform approach, responds to the problems of school underachievement and failure. It is an approach that takes into account the cultural, racial, linguistic, sexual, experiential diversity of students and works to promote the educational attainment of all students.